Hey everybody, here we are doing another BFE job. So we'll recap on some of that and we'll reiterate and remind you about the new information, the whole thermostat thing, what, when, why, how, and all that sort of thing. And it could be relevant to other makes and models of vehicles, so it's something to think about. I'm going to give you some testing information, how to test it in this video. And it's not just drop it in a bucket of water and see when it boils. There's a number of different factors you've got to take into account to see if this thing's working correctly. And we're going to briefly tell you about how it works, but we'll do that afterwards. What I want to start off with is on this 1KD FTV diesel, which we specialise in. We own a few of them ourselves. We use them to travel extensively in the Australian outback, very remote places. So I choose one of the most overall reliable and comfortable vehicles to do that travel in, and I still believe that these are the vehicles and the engines. There's some newer things around that, let's not go there. Let's not be negative. Let's stay positive. The 120 Prados are awesome. The 150 Prados are awesome. After that, it's not so good. And the Hiluxes do the job okay as well. And overall, I still think with the right maintenance from the start, these are going to be almost 100% bulletproof. And whenever there's an issue, there's only one possible issue. It's not a good one, but it's very rare and there's always a reason. And for the most part, it can be avoided. So that's the reason we choose to keep using these vehicles, owning and using the vehicles, and also working on them, because what I use and like, that's what I choose to work on as well. Let's get really good at it. And that's what we've done. So the BFE job isn't bacon and fried eggs. It's a big front engine job. I invented that job and that kit, and I called it the BFE job, and it's the BFE kit. And there's no eggs involved, even though I think eggs are probably good for you. If you drive a 120, you probably should eat some boiled eggs, but you can go suck eggs if you don't think that's a good idea, or you can bingo, bango, eat a mango. But right here, typically the Prado and the Hilux, they've got different water pumps. If you go by the standard listings, that's why a lot of people get the BFE kit from me, because we give you the two-piece water pump upgrade, and of course everything you need's in the kit to keep it reliable. But the main thing I want to talk about, the job does vary from Prado to Hilux, and for the vehicles that have had two-piece water pumps and one-piece water pumps, and some have been changed, and there's a bit of a mix-ups here or there where things are different. And like, aftermarket water pumps, and if there's that black paper gasket on there, you've got to spend an hour scraping that off. That's a real pain, and you've got to make sure you get every bit off. I suggest you watch the videos in the BFE playlist. And of course, get into the VIP group after you're a client. We've got a group there for all the people like yourselves that are getting educated and need to keep these vehicles and look after them yourself if you want it done right and you want it to last. Because a lot of the problems with vehicles these days is, besides the technology problems, it's the people working on the vehicles. So a lot of it's up to you. Now, traditionally, I'm not going to give you exact pricing and exact differences, but I'm just going to give you a ballpark idea what we're thinking at the moment. So traditionally, your Prado, because it was, if for the most of the time it was a one-piece water pump, you never know, it's not always, but for the most part, the job's a lot smaller. You could leave your compressor and other components, and you can just change the front part of the water pump. As you can see, what's in the process right here, all the timing belts off, it's all going to get cleaned up. This is like midway on the job, and I just thought I'd jump in and do a video and sort of give you the info. So the Prado BFE job traditionally has been easier, if you like, than a Hilux, because they're more common with a one-piece pump. Most common, most likely that's what it's got, not always, and vice versa. You've got the variables, but we'll just call it the Prado job and the Hilux job, because the majority of Prados have got the two-piece pump and the majority of Hiluxes have got a one-piece pump. And all the 1KDs that leave here, or anybody that buys my kit, ends up with a two-piece pump, so that you don't have to do a lot of this ever again. But now there's a spanner in the works. So basically, let's just put it out there. If the Prado job was what it is, and it is, the Hilux job would be sort of $300 or $400 extra in work. And the extra work would be things along the lines of, from what you're looking at here that'd be different is, well, we have to disconnect the battery. We have to crack the bolt on the cam loose. We have to, once we get the belt off, remove the cam pulley. We have to remove that backing plate, so there's about 5 bolts silicone along the bottom. We need to remove the compressor, all right? Not the pipes and let all the gas out. Don't do that. Watch the videos. This is not how to do anything. It's talking about what the difference in the job is, and then we're going to talk about the thermostat, spanner in the works, and why. So compressor out of the job, that's the 4 mounting bolts to the plate. The alternator, which means, you know, you've already got your belt off doing this job anyway, but it's a bolt at the bottom, it's a bolt at the top, it's a nut on the back for the wire, it's a plug that gets stuck and take a bit of time to get off and end up with a really sore finger, but depends how you go. This is the sort of things that's involved in the difference between the 2-piece and the 1-piece water pump. So there's quite a bit of extra work, which is why I sort of say $300 or $400, because as much as you go, it doesn't seem like much. It can really get delayed with if you've got a chem pulley that's stuck, if you have a plug on the alternator that's stuck. But when you've done a lot of them, it's generally pretty smooth. But that's the approximate price difference. Let's just say 300, right? Now it could be 300, 400, 500, different workshops, different prices, and they see it differently, but I'm just putting a number out there. Let's say it's 300 difference. Now, so let's now throw the spanner in the works. This thermostat has now become a thing. We'll talk about why and a bit more info after I just sort of put it out there to let you know what the price increase for the extra work is on the Prado BFE, and how it probably won't make much difference on the Hilux BFE, because most things were always getting pulled off anyway. Still a little bit extra work there, but not much. So what we're probably going to do is put the price of the Hilux BFE kit maybe $50 or something lousy like that. So not a lot, and I'll probably forget about it anyway and keep charging the old price like I have for about the last 10 years. So in 10 years ago, we were making decent money out of it. Now it's okay. I'm not complaining, but you know, we need to have some price rises. So let's just make it 100 on the Hilux one because of that and a little bit of extra work. Now on the Prado, there's a couple of different ways we're looking at doing it, and I'd like to hear from you guys in the comments, the people that are still around after 7 minutes only, not the other people that are gone already. That's why I left it till now. I'd like to hear from you in the comments. What do you think's a better idea? Should we just keep doing this the way we're doing it, and the extra work would be disconnect the battery, remove the compressor, remove the alternator, move the dipstick out of the way, take a couple of extra bolts out of the brake, bit of mucking around and work around and change that thermostat only, and that's it. And it's probably going to add, let's say, about $200 to the job, and you've still got, this all gets cleaned up, but we don't remove that cam seal. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We only remove that and change that if it's leaking, and it's not. It's usually people spilling oil out here, overflowing down the front and through all that foam there and whatever. So you just got to be careful diagnosing if you've actually got a leak there or not, because people change them and that's often the next cause of the leak. If it's not leaking there, it's leaking there because people had to change it. They don't leak. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So should we just do half the extra work, if you like, maybe a bit more than half, to change the thermostat? Or should we just do it exactly like a Hilux job? Remove the cam pulley, remove the backing plate, change the whole backing plate of the water pump instead of just doing the front part. Take all that, because there's another, there's more bolts there. Couple in behind, you got to take the tensioner right off. Details of how to do it in the other videos in the playlist and in the VIP group and all that sort of thing. So my question is, do we just charge the, whatever it is, the $300 or $400 extra and just do the whole lot, just like a Hilux, and just keep it the same one price for all the vehicles now because we need to do the thermostat? Or do we still try and save Prado owners, 2-piece pump owners if you like, $100, $150, $200, whatever it ends up being, by doing just that on top of the 2-piece pump job? Do you get what I mean? Pretty straightforward. Let us know in the comments what you think we should do. Hopefully one is just a resounding, just do the whole job and just be done with it, unless we got someone, I suppose, that says, hey, look, I want to save every dollar I can, then we can sort of cut that out of it, because it doesn't need to be done officially. Right, now, that's the question for the comments. Let's move on to what the problem here is with a thermostat and why it's been added to the job. As I said in other videos, for a long time, I'm driving these cars, I'm looking at scan gauges, customers' cars, I'm looking at diagnostic tools. It's been going on for specialising in these cars over 10 years. And I see on the scan tool that they always idle at 83, right? And the coolant temperature sensor is just there. And on the thermostat here, it says 82 degrees because that's when it's meant to open up. Now, how much does it open up and all that? That's a variable. But what I see, I think these are bloody awesome. And I did think they were bulletproof for a long time, because I keep seeing these engines idle at 83. In the thousands I've seen, I've probably only ever seen maybe less than 5 cars outside that 83 range. There was 1 or 2 that were in the 70s, so really big problem. Running cold, not ideal, but I thought that was the only problem they had. And it took me owning 3 of these engines and looking at scan gauges and spending way too much time analysing and thinking about it, which is what I do, lucky for you, to work out that what I think's happening, besides on the very rare, some of them, it's stuck open. So what happens is, in case you don't know, that section there in the middle, so this is the hole in the middle, and don't cut the guts out of it and don't leave it out. See that hole in the middle there? Right, we'll call this the black part there, we'll call that the dick, right? So the dick in the middle, that actually gets stuck down, so there's a little gap. So if you've got your thermostat out and you go, oh look, it's out, it's not hot, it's not 82, there shouldn't be any gap there, looking through there. So if you do take a good photo of it, you know, like that, and I'll use that for the thumbnail maybe, that, right? And put it on Oz Protocol if you're in Australia, or put it on the Facebook group 4x4 Diesel if you're outside Australia, and say, yeah, mine was stuck open. So then we can just start gathering info again to how many are stuck open, maybe running cold, and then check it, see what your thermostat's running at to see if it's running cold. It should warm up. Once it gets to 83, as long as it stays there, it can drop to 82, 81. That's not a concern, as long as it's not in the 70s. Might take a while to get there on a cold day, but it needs to stay up there. Okay, so that's the first part of the problem. The second part of the problem is, one of my vehicles in particular, the 150 Prado, I noticed really easily it would be going above 88, 89, 90, up into the 91, 92, 93, which I never really noticed on any of my other vehicles or any of the road tests. Every time we do a set of injectors, I do a 20k road test, I've got the scan tool plugged in. So I've seen hundreds and thousands of these vehicles and the temperatures they run at, and they always run at a pretty good temp. Now I think back, and I did put a new thermostat in the 120 at one stage, and I did notice that it runs cooler. Same as when I put a new fan and radiator, it ran cooler, and you can really push it now, and it doesn't really go beyond about 88, and normal driving's around 86, 87, and that's a heavily loaded vehicle traveling at highway speed, which is really good. Then I compared to my 150, I went, hang on a minute, why is this going up to 91, 92? And I go, well, it's not the water pump. The water pump's done. It's not the radiator. That's done. It's all clear. Stock standard, no bull bar. The cooling system's mint. Even, there's no, just because I replaced the fan on the 120, doesn't mean you need to do that. Don't waste your money. Do as I say, not as I do. Listen to the videos. And don't just watch a few and think you got it figured out. There's a lot more to see. You really need to get into the playlists. But I went, there's something going on here. And I really thought about it, as I do. And I went, you know what I think's happening? So, you know, you get a bit of corrosion and rust on the back of them, and things get a bit, you know, but it might not be the mechanical part of it making it stick. But what I believed was happening, and I believe it's now confirmed. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in there with a camera about here to have a look, but what I thought was happening is I went, okay, well, that thermostat's opening up, allowing some flow of coolant through there. And we're not talking about why you need a thermostat in this video. That's in other videos as well. It's allowing some flow of coolant, but it wouldn't open up enough. So it might have been opening up, you know, this much gap, where it should have had this much gap and had been fully open. See the spring there? It should be all the way back. I could just about pull on it if I had an assistant. Hey, assistant, can you give me a hand, please? Look, we're going to try this. We'll see if it works out with my assistant and try and demonstrate so you know what it looks like when it's open. I need a hand, mate. So I'm not sure if this is going to work, but can you grab that rubber seal part of the thermostat? That's it. You hold that really tight. Just give it a pull. Let's see if this is going to work. It's not going to work. Okay, what about the other way? Hang on. What about, can you play around with that for a minute while I keep talking to them and see if you can work out a way to make that open? It's got to, that part down there's got to go down. So yeah, that bit at the bottom there, that's actually, let me just show around that. This is for your heater bypass, right? So when it opens all the way, this plate here, that seats into the other side and it blocks off the bypass for the heater. So that's what that's all about. So we do actually, I wasn't organised for this, but you can make around yourself if you want. You can whack that in the vise and you can push down on that with your old one and just see how much it opens. Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to work, man. We need to push on. We need to push on there or something. You can play around with it all you like. But look, what I'm saying is the thermostat wasn't opening properly, allowing the flow, because the cooling system had the nice cool coolant waiting for it, but the thermostat wasn't letting it in, which meant quite easily the engine was running at 93. And when I set a coolant alarm at 93 on the scan gauge 3, and I regularly saw it. I went, I don't even like 91, 92. So the new thermostat, it went in with a new engine, long story short. I put a new engine because I can. There was nothing wrong with the old one. It's in another car. But my point is, there could be a lot of these out there that they are actually old stuffed thermostats that are not opening properly. They're running a bit warmer. And honestly, I believe this to be another possible contributor to cracked pistons. Had we kept all the old thermostats from all the cracked piston engines, which we're talking about 20 engines over the last 15 years, so not a lot of engines we do. People that listen to me and follow generally don't need an engine, so let's just be clear about that. Like I said, it's very rare, but I believe, so even in my old 120, I remember it running hotter. I remember being able to hit 90, 91. It took more than what it took the 150 to get to that temperature. But I remember it going up there where now I can't tell you the sort of things that I do to it, but let's just say foot to the floor for a number of minutes. And I haven't seen, I think the highest I saw was 88. And that is absolutely amazing considering maximum load at high gear, high wind resistance on the engine. And I don't see higher than 88, and that's with an ARB bull bar. And I'm not saying that's a good thing to do. Don't do that long term. It's not going to be good for your driver's license either if you don't do it on private property or in a special safe area to do so. But look, I think I've said enough. That's why we're changing the thermostat. It's added more work to the job. BFE price is going up. Let us know what you think. Should we just do the two-piece pump BFE plus the thermostat, or should we do the full eat a mango job? Thanks for watching and listening. Bada bing. More videos coming your way if you subscribe with the bell on to help you out, look after your vehicle. And you know what? Even if you've got other makes and models, the thermostat's something you should probably look at. You look at your scan gauge, you see what it's idling at, and when you drive it, you see if it's in the normal operating range. On this engine, they say normal operating range is 75 to 90 degrees. So I don't like anything over 90. I'm quite happy with, it's 82, so I want to see 83, 84, 85, 86. I already know now I'm happy at 85, 86. I don't really want to see any more than 88. And that's my story on 1KD temperature. Thanks for watching. See ya.